Heavily armed officers gather outside the scene of a multiple shooting that took place inside and outside of Oak Creek's Sikh Temple of Wisconsin. Law enforcement received multiple 911 calls around 10:25 Sunday morning. Police say a 20-year veteran of the Oak Creek Police Department exchanged fire with the shooter. The officer was struck multiple times, and the gunman later died from another officer's fire. Flight for Life took to the air, and family members gathered on the ground, desperately trying to contact loved ones who could be inside.
I called on his phone. That somebody else answered the phone that he got shot.
Somebody just called me from inside. My kids are inside.
Some were contacted by panicked relatives inside the temple, hiding in a pantry or closet, warning worshippers about the violence.
Yeah, they called us. They called us not to come into Gurdwara, not to come to church.
Police say at least 9 were shot, 7 were killed, including the shooter.
A couple people got shot in parking lot.
At least 10 were shot, 7 were killed, including the shooter. As dozens watch and wait and hope their loved ones can make it through this terrible scene.
He's crying, he's in a lot of pain, but I don't know where he got shot, but he got shot.
Authorities say the law enforcement officer who was shot multiple times is in surgery but is expected to survive. And law enforcement credits local law enforcement with preventing this tragedy from becoming even worse.
In a spirit of unity, a spirit of hope.
While people pray for healing at the Oak Creek Community United Methodist Church, we learn more about the shooting and shooter at the Sikh Temple.
Yesterday at 10:25 a.m. we received our initial call.
Oak Creek Police Lieutenant Brian Murphy almost immediately finds a victim and tries to help. Then he's ambushed by the gunman, Wade Michael Page, who served in the military from 1992 to 1998, but was not allowed to re-enlist.
The officer was shot 8 to 9 times at this incident at very close range with a handgun.
An agent for U.S. Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms says the gun was acquired legally. Other Oak Creek officers on the scene approach Page and are shot at.
One of the officers returned fire with his squad rifle, putting the individual down.
Page is one of 7 people Oak Creek Police Chief John Edwards identifies as deceased in the wake of the Sikh Temple shooting rampage Sunday morning. A member of the temple reads the names of the 5 men and the 1 woman who died. They range in age from 39 to 84.
Paramjit Kaur, 41 years old, female.
2 others are in critical condition at Frederick Hospital, along with the 51-year-old Lieutenant Murphy. And although authorities won't speculate on a motive behind the shooting, they do give us a clue as to where their investigation may be going.
We are looking at ties to white supremacist groups.
We really, really, really need each other.
Meanwhile, people in Oak Creek pray together, but not alone, according to the city's mayor late Monday.
I actually got a phone call from the mayor of Aurora last night. It followed a phone call from the President of the United States, which I mentioned a few times, which was also very comforting.
I've just seen them come and go.
Kelly Templin lives 2 doors down from the duplex where Wade Michael Page lived with a girlfriend and her son. She says the couple led a quiet life and kept to themselves.
Never heard anything from them, ever.
This wasn't the first South Milwaukee home the pair shared. Neighbors along Minnesota Avenue tell us Page moved in with the woman about 8 months ago. Aside from blasting music, we're told it was a similar situation.
All we get back is an occasional hi, or he'd shrug his shoulders and just grunt and walk on.
Nothing out of the ordinary. However, it's Page's musical life that authorities are interested in. According to a 2010 interview with Label 56, Page became part of the white power music scene in 2000. Since then, he had been part of 8 different bands, all expressing a similar white supremacy message, a link which has the FBI looking at the Temple shooting as a possible act of domestic terrorism.
He just said that they couldn't get along and they split up.
Page didn't stay in South Milwaukee for long, eventually landing in Cudahy about a month ago. Neighbors say it was a forced move after his girlfriend broke up with him. This wasn't the only life change. A co-worker at Lucas Millhop tells us about 2 weeks later, he just stopped showing up to work. Finally, he moved one last time in mid-July. His last apartment was left nearly empty.
It's scary. It's hard to comprehend that your neighbor that lives 2 houses down is responsible for that.
In a packed gym in Oak Creek High School, they came to remember. In English,
they died a painful death, and they died in the wrong conditions, but they died at a place where God would take them.
And in the Sikh native language of Punjabi. Remembering a mother, a retired farmer, 2 devout brothers, a dedicated worshiper, and a temple leader who is being called a hero.
Even in death, my father has done more to promote awareness of the Sikh faith than he did when he was alive.
Inside, many wore white, a color that Sikhs say represent the purity of the soul. Lines stretched out the door for nearly 2 hours as people waited to say goodbye to the 6 victims who lay in caskets.
This incident is unbearable. It has shaken the minds of the whole world.
Honored speakers came as far away as India. Governor Walker and United States Attorney General Eric Holder among those to offer condolences.
Why he put this, I don't know. Number 5, don't become prejudiced. In his broken English, he wrote that.
Amardeep Kalika lost his father Satwat Singh Kalika, the temple's president, left behind a journal where his life's teachings will live on.
And you know why that he wrote it in English? One day he was going to give it to us, my brother and me. And that day came far too early.
6 lives gone so quick, whose memorial service ended with a moment of silence.
Let's take a few seconds.
Arriving at Oak Creek High School, First Lady Michelle Obama is greeted by Mayor Steve Scafidi and Sikh Temple leader Dr. Kulwant Dhaliwal.
I thanked her that it's very nice of her to spare time from a busy schedule to personally come and meet victims' families and convey their sympathies.
Neither cameras nor reporters were allowed to follow the First Lady as she went on to meet with the families of those killed and injured at the Oak Creek Sikh Temple.
The thing that she kept repeating was, your father was a true hero.
Amardeep Kaleka and his brother Pardeep were among the 20 or so family members Mrs. Obama spent an hour with.
Oh yeah, she just, expressed hers and Barack's condolences for all the families involved in this. She wished that she could have got here sooner.
Amarjeet Kaur was injured in the shooting when a bullet grazed her arm.
I feel so great, and I so feel emotionally, I feel safe, and I'm really thankful to you, the people of this country, actually, especially. I feel so safe now over here. I'm not alone over here. These all people are with us.
Family members tell us the First Lady consoled each family one-on-one, and at the end of the meeting sat them all down and said steps have to be taken in our country to stop this kind of hate and violence. They were words Amardeep Kaleka had been waiting to hear.
She hears our voices. She understands that there needs to be changes.
And the victims' families tell us that the family of Lieutenant Brian Murphy was also here meeting with Mrs. Obama today, but they tell us that meeting took place in a separate room. They did not see the lieutenant at that meeting. Reporting in Oak Creek, Jenna Sachs, Fox 6 News.
We have never trained for an individual the way this response happened.
When Oak Creek Police Chief John Edwards looks back at that early August day, he calls it chaos. He is one of many analyzing what they could have done better.
We had 2 people manning the phones, and now not only are our 911 banks full, but now we're getting international calls with different information. So there's quite a bit of a delay, so it causes a bit of confusion.
Hundreds of people, dozens of units responded to calls for help at the Sikh Temple of Wisconsin, thousands more trying to find out what was going on. After the chaos had cleared, giving out information became more of a priority. However, Oak Creek leaders hit another bump when they turned people to the city's website.
When he said that, was it 10 million hits? 10 million hits within a minute to that website, which obviously crashed it.
While the entire ordeal is now behind them, its effects may linger for years.
My concern is what's going to happen, because I had 2 guys that were first on the scene that only had 4 months on the job. How are they going to deal with this long term?
Edwards says discussions about what they could have done better may seem almost disrespectful, but they are necessary.
That's how we train for these types of events, is we find, could we have done something a little bit better, or maybe what would help this for anyone else who would have to do this, that we can pass it along.
Video captures Oak Creek Lieutenant Brian Murphy attacked by gunman Wade Michael Page.
4562, I thought I heard shots. Can you confirm that?
Moments after, 32-year veteran officer Sam Lenda gets out of his car and is fired on. He fires 6 rounds and from about 60 yards away hits Page in the stomach. In a news conference, the shots by police were described as justified and prevented additional loss of innocent lives August 5th. That's when Page, a white supremacist, went on a killing spree, taking the lives of 6 members of the Sikh Temple of Wisconsin before he was stopped by Officer Lenda's round, Shortly after, Page shot and killed himself.
He was on a mission to cause havoc. He had to be stopped.
Lenda's acts were called heroic. However, the officer shied away from that label.
Hero weighs heavy. I'm just an officer who did my job.
He's a hero.
Temple members like Harpreet Singh say the video shows both the good done by officers and the threat posed by Page.
He probably has went out and done more shooting, maybe, who knows.
During the shooting, Lieutenant Murphy's hand was hit, separating him from his gun and rendering him defenseless. His only protection was the shelter of a car, his body armor, and the distraction of Lenda's squad pulling up.
It's a miracle. I believe, especially like when he was doing good, God has an upper hand on him and blessed him.
As if a car show benefiting victims of the Sikh temple shooting wasn't enough to celebrate,
every dollar of proceeds is all going to them.
People gathering in the bowling alley parking lot across from the Oak Creek Temple cheer something more by the end of the day.
Lieutenant, thank you.
Lieutenant Brian Murphy makes his first on-camera public appearance at the event on his birthday of all days.
Happy birthday to you.
And despite being shot more than a dozen times responding to the massacre, including at least once in the throat, Murphy finds a few words for the crowd.
Fantastic.
And when he started coming up, there was tears in our eyes. So that was really moving.
Also at the event is police officer Sam Lenda, who engaged the gunman, Wade Michael Page, after Murphy was shot, as seen and heard in this recently released dash camera video. 6 victims and the shooter died that horrible day in early August. Another victim, Punjab Singh, remains in the hospital. But Sunday is a far happier day for Murphy and the Oak Creek community.
You see somebody rebound for something like that and doing what they've did for the community, that dude is, I can't describe it.
I just want to let everyone know how appreciative I am, my family is, for your kindness, prayers, and support.